Our game of the weekend is the clash tonight at the Racecourse Ground, Wrexham versus league leaders Coventry City. But the big question, first of all, Justin Peach, is what derby is this?
It's the Andy Morel derby, Ryan.
I've got exactly the same one. Well done. We got there in the end. We've had several missed attempts so far this season, but that is a sign of how big a cracker this game is. And it's such a big game, Justin, that we are once again going live straight after the final whistle of this game to get our reaction on our YouTube channel straight off the back of that game. But if you can't join us tonight, do not worry at all. We'll have that reaction in your usual podcast feed or YouTube channel video section. You know what I mean. But yeah, juicy one, isn't it? This one, top of the table, Coventry City going Hollywood, Justin.
Going Hollywood. I don't know how to interpret that.
Which actor would be the best to play Frank Lampard in a movie, do you think, if Coventry City were going full Hollywood?
I'd rather abstain from saying anything because I could say you need an actor who's balding, but then
he's quite a handsome bloke, isn't he, old Frankie Lamps, though, isn't he? We've given him plenty of stick over the years as his ability as a manager, which he may be proving us wrong this season. But he's a pretty handsome chap.
No, he is. And if you are going to throw Hollywood down, if you're going to go down the Hollywood route, then sure, Hugh Grant, why not? You know, he's also a handsome guy. But maybe he's looking a bit tethered compared to Frank Lampard, I should say.
I was going to say Hugh Grant is surely way too old to play Frank Lampard, isn't he?
But now I'm trying to think of sort of British actors who could really play the role. And nothing's
Don't worry,
to mind.
Justin. I've got you covered. I've asked ChatGPT, and it suggested Nicholas Hoult, Jack O'Connell, and Richard Madden, which I think shows that AI still has a long way to go. But look, Coventry head into this in red hot form, looking for their 7th win in a row. This juggernaut, Justin, is storming along.
Yeah, they've got that muscle memory. That's a really useful thing to have, isn't it? They are storming, as you said. It's one of them where you can actually argue that they haven't been at their best over the last 3 games, but they still come out as winners. You know, if we look at Leeds last season as an example, there were times when they're not at their best and they're stumbling around a little bit, just about getting over the line or sometimes drawing games, whereas Coventry have been devastating, even when they're not playing at their best. Maybe they're a little bit open at times. Doesn't matter because they've got a goalkeeper in form. But going forwards, they are overwhelming opposition, which is unique because I think currently they are the only team who can do that in a division. And they've got so many different avenues of scoring, haven't they? They can score from distance. They can cut teams open. They can create from set pieces, from throw-ins, from corners. When you've got a team like that who are in red hot form, sure, you don't have to be at your best. You don't have to be at your best at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And if Coventry avoid defeat here, they'll become just the 5th team in Championship history to stay unbeaten after 13 games of a season. Only one, Justin, of those previous 4 sides didn't go on to get promoted. So very positive outlook for Coventry City. And that just shows how commanding a position they've found themselves in. Going off the back of what you were saying, I do think there have been some signs that they may be perhaps fading a little bit. They weren't great at all a couple of weeks ago against Blackburn. And then last time out against Watford, they somehow find themselves 3-0 up at half-time when they actually should have conceded 3 or 4 themselves. However, it's got to be pointed out, both those games were at home. And Coventry have been more convincing on their travels recently than they have in front of their own fans. They won 4-0 at Millwall, 5-0 at Sheffield Wednesday, won 2-1 at Portsmouth in a game which was a lot more comfortable, really, than the scoreline suggests. So they've particularly enjoyed going away recently, which is bad news, of course, for Wrexham. But home or away, Coventry have been having a lot of fun recently with a ridiculous 19 goals scored in their last 6 games. Like a ridiculous tally. And a big contributor to that is Brandon Thomas Asante. 7 goals in his last 6 games. Outrageous form from BTA, Justin.
Yeah, he's the most dangerous player in the division, isn't he?
Which is saying something. I did not expect to be saying that after 12 games.
Well, I think even as recently as September, you were questioning whether just relying on Brandon Thomas Asante was a bit of a question mark for Coventry, but he's really, really shown that he's capable. He's just 4 goal contributions off his career best, which was set in the 21-22 season with Salford, in League Two.
Yes, get it right. You know how I feel when you say Salford.
But he's in incredible form, and he does deserve the credit as well, because he's been ridiculed and undervalued, as recently as September by people we know very well. And he was a squad player last season. He only started 15 games last season. So I think Mark Robbins deserves a lot of credit for pulling off a masterstroke and getting him in for just 2.25 million, I think it was the rumoured fee. And he was a slow burner last season, absolutely, but he's rolling. He's rolling this year.
Yeah, I feel like you were kind of insinuating there that you've always been a big Brandon Thomas Asante
Absolutely.
fan,
always.
which
never waned. When did I ever question BTA?
I think could not be further from the truth. But yeah, he's on 9 goals for the season after just 12 games. And I think you mentioned it then, Justin. His previous best in an entire league campaign is 11. And keep in mind, he is soon turning 27. So this really has properly come out of nowhere. So, yeah, I think it's safe to say he should pass that tally, but it really shows how outrageous this form is and why I certainly wasn't expecting it this season. Because, yeah, if you said to me at the start of the season there would be a striker who would score 9 goals in the first 12, he genuinely probably would have been one of the last I would have chosen, because he's not been the most convincing whenever I've watched him at this level, to put it frank. But sometimes strikers go through spells where everything they touch turns to magic. He scored some brilliant goals, like the volley from outside the box against Blackburn a couple of weeks ago. In others, he's just found himself in the right place at the right time. But yeah, a remarkable run. Not sure how long it's going to last, but he's certainly enjoying himself right now. Another Coventry player in brilliant form right now, who perhaps doesn't get as much recognition from those outside of the West Midlands, is the goalkeeper Carl Rushworth, who's made a number of big saves recently, and according to TalkSport, it's led to him being on the radar of England. Scouts are said to be paying close attention to him for the forthcoming senior squads. What do you think to that, Justin?
What scouts at national level? That's interesting. I read the same report that he's on the radar, and you know what? I'm all for it. I completely agree that should be the case at the very least. He's getting game time. That's an important thing, and he's thriving at this level. He's still young, and I would love to see it. I think too often good players have been overlooked at this level for those who are warming the benches in the Premier League. So definitely give Rushworth his chance. I think he's different as a goalkeeper, definitely different as a goalkeeper than he is an outfield player. So we'll throw that caveat in there. But Rushworth definitely deserves to at least have a look in, because he's been excellent. I've always rated him very, very highly. And I think he's got a high ceiling. Unfortunately, though, if he does get called up for England, you can probably rule out Coventry signing him permanently, sadly, because that's going to price them out massively.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was ever going to be on the cards in the first place, unless they got promoted, maybe. But yeah, you are definitely preaching to the choir when it comes to Championship players playing for England, because it's something I've been saying a lot. If Carl Rushworth was showing this form in the Premier League, then he won't be too far away from the England squad. But the fact that he's just playing in the Championship, for some reason, for certain managers in the past, England managers, that's meant that they're not worthy of a call-up. But yeah, looking at Rushworth this season, he has been in ridiculous form. Coventry have only conceded 2 in their last 7 games. And trust me, I've watched a lot of those games. They definitely should have conceded more in that time. But the reason they didn't is because Carl Rushworth has been coming to their rescue on so many occasions. And I've always been a big fan of his. He was superb a couple of seasons ago at Swansea. I believe Coventry may have actually wanted to sign Rushworth permanently this summer, but Brighton, who he's on loan from, made it very clear they wanted to keep him. So a brilliant goalkeeper, and has been playing a much bigger role in Coventry's recent form than many outsiders may actually realise. We should talk about Wrexham, Justin, even though Coventry have been stealing the headlines so often this season. It's 1 win in 7 for the Red Dragons. We did also speak at length about them in yesterday's show, so if anyone's not listened to that yet, make sure you go back and have a listen to that for our thoughts on Wrexham's recent form. But a bit of frustration has been creeping in from supporters after recent results and getting knocked out of the League Cup on Tuesday to Welsh rivals Cardiff, Justin. Yeah,
the sentiment's changing a little bit. They need to bounce back. Obviously, that Cardiff defeat really has been quite a sore one for Wrexham fans, which is interesting. None more so summed up by the fact that Wrexham released an ad with Ancestry the day after the Cardiff defeat, and people were pissed off about it. They were saying they should read the room, which I thought, again, was maybe a bit of an overreaction, because you've got commercial responsibilities as a football club. And
I'd like to find out who my ancestors are.
It was Matty James in the ad, so maybe. Yeah, let's hear his story, for goodness sake, okay?
Yeah.
Right, let's just keep it cool. But, when fans are picking apart ads, there's a change in tune here. But that's going to happen when you're promised a lot and you're under-delivering, and that's probably where Wrexham are at, weirdly. But it's 1 win in 7, as you said. That's just one defeat in that time. So games have been narrow. But they have played the likes of Leicester, Stoke, Borough, Birmingham in that time. These clubs that I mentioned there are either pushing higher up the division or have aspirations of pushing higher up the division and have spent a fair bit of money. So, yeah, it's not great that there's a lack of wins, but I can't sit here and say it's been an awful run of form either.
No, I think that's fair. I think it goes back to what we were saying yesterday, that Wrexham fans have become very used to their team competing for promotion over the past few years. So the fact that they're just sat 16th right now is perhaps a bit underwhelming. But yeah, I agree with you. They have been tighter at the back recently. Were at one point one of the best chance creators in the division, but that has dropped off recently as well. They have got some availability issues heading into this game. Lewis Brunt's going to be out for a few months. He's played a big role in them getting better defensively. Callum Doyle suspended for this game. Ben Sheaf might not be fit to face his former club. So, yeah, things could definitely be better if you're Wrexham. And I think it's fair to say it's not a great time to be facing the best side in the Championship so far. So with that being said, Justin, who is winning this game? Wrexham v Coventry tonight.
You'd expect Coventry to overwhelm them, right?
Oh, God, where's this going?
But I've just got a weird feeling about Wrexham.
Ooh, okay.
It comes down to that they need a reaction from that defeat to Cardiff, because it was a really, really poor game. And Phil Parkinson is not been critical, but he's been very honest. After the game, and obviously with fan sentiment potentially turning, that could gee up the players. As well as that, tactically, they're going to play with a really low block. So that space that Coventry do like to exploit isn't going to be there, because there'll be a lot of teams in the division who will try and push high against Cov, and Cov are really good at getting in behind and really turning possession over. You're not going to have that against Wrexham. I mean, if Conor Cody comes in the box into the team, for example, with availability issues, they're not going to get out of their 18-yard box. Man's a car horse. So with that, they're going to be really, really direct as well. So I fancy Wrexham with this one because of the physicality element, but also the fact they're going to be really stubborn and horrible to play against for Cov. I think it's going to be one of those games. And also, there's an element of this unbeaten run's got to come to an end at some point, hasn't it? It's just the natural law of averages at Championship level.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bold take. Completely. Yeah. I fully respect that, Justin. You're going for something different, because I imagine the vast, vast majority of people would go for a Coventry win, and I'm going to be amongst that big crowd of sheep. I'm going for a Coventry win, because even though there have been small signs of them starting to drop off, everything's going their way. And you're absolutely right. The run has got to come to an end at some point. And I'd probably be more confident of that happening if they were facing someone better than Wrexham, who aren't exactly flying. If they try to properly shithouse it, then maybe they could get a result. But otherwise, if you're looking at all the available evidence, it's pointed to Coventry, making it 7 wins on the spin. So, yeah, I'm going to go for an away win in this game. But we will, of course, be giving our reaction straight off the back of this one, straight after the final whistle on our YouTube channel. So make sure you join us for our live stream. Then join in with the conversation. We'll be reading out your comments throughout the live stream. But if you can't join us, as I said earlier, it will be in your usual podcast feeds or wherever you watch us on YouTube. Justin, we'll have a quick break. After that, we'll talk about Sheffield Wednesday's action this weekend and our bankers. Welcome back to the Second Tier Podcast, and it's now time for this.
Wednesday Watch.
Yes, it is Sheffield Wednesday away this weekend. They go to West Brom on Saturday lunchtime. Now, it's the final day of the month, so it is payday for Sheffield Wednesday staff. As we sit here right now, we don't know whether those wages have been paid. There's been a bit of uncertainty as to whether that would be the case, but Sky Sports have said there's confidence that everything will go through, with the administrators understood to have made great strides to generate enough money to cover the entire wage bill, which is a Bit of relief for the Wednesday staff in what is, fair to say, uncertain times.
Yeah, it's a massive relief, isn't it? I think in previous months, it's always been a case of, okay, well, is Chansiri going to drop is he going to transfer the money? Essentially, it's not really been the case. And that worry has been there, whereas I guess you're a little bit more reassured that someone else is in charge of the process now. I think the worry will continue because you will look to next month. Yeah, I think Sheffield Wednesday fans have really, really come together in terms of generating a hell of a lot of money through the ticket office and buying tickets, and obviously the club shop as well. Like, a lot of money. Like the price of a Colin Kazim Richards 20 years ago. That's how much money they've been generating. Or
That's a reference.
So it's been an incredible drive. I guess the worry is that sustainable? But that's something that comes later on, I guess. But ultimately, you'd expect there to be a little bit more relief because there's someone else handling the process other than the man who has done his very best not to be present as an owner.
Well, it's a reminder that the club can't magic money out of thin air, and that's why they need supporters to help fund things going forwards. But look, ultimately, the administrators are there to cut what they deem to be unnecessary costs, and that may involve jobs. So there's going to be uncertainty until a takeover happens, and that's why the club needs as much help as it can get, as we saw with Wednesday last week with the ridiculous amounts of money being spent in the club shop. I think there was an average of £100 being spent per customer, which is great to see. And all the tickets that were sold in the hours after administration as well. So as long as that keeps happening, then hopefully issues like this won't be a thing going forwards. In some good news on the pitch for Wednesday, their goalkeeper Pierce Charles is back in training. The 20-year-old hugely impressed before getting injured, forcing Wednesday to get in Ethan Horvath on an emergency loan. But Charles says he could be back before the end of November, which would be a huge boost for Wednesday, wouldn't it?
Yeah, massive. He was such a good asset, really. He probably got injured at the wrong time because I think if his form was still carrying on, then the likelihood of him potentially being sold in January probably would have paid for the rest of the season because he was on a trajectory going very, very well. So yeah, his form was great. The injury was frustrating for Wednesday and for him, but him coming back is going to be a huge boost to the squad. That being said, Ethan Horvath has been decent, not amazing, but decent. I think the goalkeeping department's the one they have to least worry about at the club because they could just go after Joe Lumley if they need to on an emergency loan as well. So
yeah, get him back.
Bring in the goat. But with Pierce Charles, I think it's kind of strange. You almost now have to view him as an asset, which is the sad state of affairs at Wednesday.
Well, it says a lot about how talented Charles is that Wednesday sold the likes of Anthony Masaba, JD Gassama in the summer to raise funds, but they chose to keep hold of Pierce Charles. And I think part of that may have been down to injury, but the point remains, he's a big asset. And if we're looking to the future, he could be huge for Wednesday post-administration. If a takeover takes a while to happen and it still hasn't gone through by January, then there may be a risk that he sold because ultimately the administrators are in charge and their job is to raise money. But all being well, a takeover will be done before then, and then Wednesday can keep hold of Charles and we can watch this very talented keeper, based on what we saw earlier in the season, develop as Wednesday hopefully start to rise once again. How do you see this one going just in this weekend? Sheffield Wednesday away at West Brom tomorrow afternoon.
I think West Brom's inability to create might play into the hands of Wednesday here. I know you can sit on the side of the fence and go, Wednesday haven't got enough players, it's going to be a struggle, but West Brom, they generally cannot create. They can only shoot from distance. So with that, I'm going to go for a draw.
Yeah, I've been very surprised at how poor West Brom have been in attack recently, considering they've got some very talented players, but they haven't been great at all. But they surely should be getting the win here because it's 4 losses on the bounce for Wednesday. Fatigue is catching up with the players. I think they need a takeover really just to be done as soon as, so they can get some signings in and give the other players a bit of a rest because Lord knows they bloody need it at this stage. Let's have a look ahead to this weekend then, Justin. And in each preview episode of the second tier, just know we'll each pick a banker, the team we think is guaranteed to win this coming weekend, as well as an outsider, so someone we think is going to win, but it's bigger odds with the bookies than their opponents. But tracking how we do, you see, as the season goes on. It's 1 point for a correct banker, 2 points for an outsider. Whoever loses has to do a forfeit, which is to become a Frank Lampard superfan for the day. The current scores are 39 to me. It's after I got a full house last weekend to increase my lead further, and it's safe to say you need some points on the board badly, Justin, my boy.
Why are you hyping this up like it's a significant? There's a lot of football to be played between now and
into
the
your
end.
head, mate.
You're not.
You're rattled.
I'm absolutely fine. I was frustrated because we discussed our bankers and outsiders on Wednesday, and lo and behold, about 7:15, the day of recording, you drop yours in before my merry alarm goes off. Very frustrating.
Sounds like a you problem.
It sounds like underhand tactics to me, but I'm confident. It's a 4-point gap, Ryan. Calm down. Calm down, will you?
All right, mate. Sorry. Didn't realise it was so stressful for you getting up at whatever time you get up, which is after 7:15 in the morning. One thing I will say, though, to be fair, and I'm being serious here, bankers are proving to be so tricky this season, aren't they? And I think a perfect example of that is this weekend. I was looking at the fixtures. You've got 5 home teams who are odds-on favourites this weekend, right? One is West Brom, who have lost 5 of their last 8. One is Leicester, who have won 1 in 8. One is Sheffield United, who have lost 9 in 12. One is Southampton, who have won 2 in 12. And one is Birmingham, who have won 2 in 9. In pretty much every season gone by, we've had at least 2 or 3 teams who you could just, hang your hat on and you'd be pretty safe with it. Apart from Coventry, there's no one else really this season, is there?
Yeah, but all the home teams being shit this weekend and in a bad run of form, to be really blunt and direct about it, has made the outsiders harder as well, because the teams that are in form are more or less the outsiders against the better teams in the division at home as well. So before anyone comes at us, and I know my outsider, they're going to come for me, just bear it in mind, it was a difficult weekend.
All right, well, we'll keep that in mind when it comes to the outsider in a bit. Let's get to your banker first, Justin. Who have you picked as your team who are guaranteed, in quotation marks, to win this weekend?
Yeah, guaranteed. Leicester to beat Blackburn at home on Saturday lunchtime. Yeah, I'm going to talk about form. Leicester are in a desperate situation, I think. They've won 1 in 8, as you've already alluded to. Lots of draws, but successive defeats to Hull and Millwall will not create a healthy atmosphere around the club. I think the worst thing about this run of form, this is a banker, by the way, I'm still yet to see an improvement in certain individuals. I just keep expecting it, but it's not dropping. Jordan Ayew's got 1 goal in 11. Abdul Fattaru's got 3 goals this season, which is not a
I'd have thought you would have had more, to be honest, considering I've been pretty impressed with him, but that seems to be because everything goes through him at Leicester.
Well, exactly, but he's got a couple of assists as well, so it's not all doom and gloom. But when you compare him to someone like Brandon Thomas Asante, one's performing, one isn't.
We can't all be like the GOAT, mate. Come on.
We can't all be BTA. But Steffi Mavididi, a player who I adore, has just not done anything so far this season. So many players are underperforming. So up steps Blackburn, who could fancy this because they played well against Southampton last week, although they may be sat on the lucky side of things, especially with the Adam Armstrong missed chances. They do have more luck away from home. They've got 2 of their 3 wins this season coming outside of Ewood Park. But that being said, my options were limited, so I am leaning Leicester as my banker.
Have you really explained why you picked them as your banker apart from your options are limited?
There's no explanation why. All I've said is they're a bit shit. Blackburn are also a bit shit. So maybe Leicester could be less shit than Blackburn this weekend. Who knows?
Yeah, it's fair to say it's not the most convincing of banker picks, is it? For all the reasons you've just stated there. And I think Leicester's form has probably gone a bit under the radar, mainly because they were drawing a lot of games, weren't they? So it wasn't that bad, but there are also teams who are obviously underperforming a lot more than they are. But yeah, back-to-back losses means the spotlight maybe heading their way, especially if they don't get a result here. I've been looking recently, Justin, at expected points. Are you familiar with expected points?
What's all this spreadsheet bollocks? I'm going to go full Martin O'Neill here and go, what's the point?
But I'll tell you what the point is in expected points, because for those who don't know, expected points essentially take into account the number of expected goals each team produces and concedes in each game, and then gives you a probability of how much each team was expected to win said games. So if you're creating more chances than your opponent in each game, you're going to be doing very well in this table. Opt to have Coventry top, which is perhaps unsurprising. It's interesting that Ipswich, Southampton and Birmingham are next. That caught my eye. But you scroll down the table, and fifth from bottom in the expected points table is Leicester. So that perhaps backs up what I've been saying frequently, and you've been saying to an extent as well, Justin, that they haven't been that impressive on the eye this season and actually been pretty fortunate in a lot of games this season.
They have, because they found ways to get results, which when you do possess the quality that Leicester do, like, I'm not suggesting that Leicester have a better squad than they did a couple of years ago when they went up as champions, but they do have a better squad than most in the Championship. But these individuals are performing, and that's a worry. And it's hard to really put the blame on Marty Cifuentes either, because who's he been able to bring in? Do you know what I mean? He's not been able to shape a squad the way he wants by bringing in individuals. He's had to work with Ruud van Nistelrooy and Steve Cooper's and Enzo Maresca's squad. It's been a low turnover of players that needed to be a high turnover of players. And unfortunately, this is the result. You've got a lot of underperforming individuals and a manager who's trying to find his way through it.
Yeah. Well, of course, the only stat that matters is the actual points as opposed to expected points. But considering at one point, but just a matter of weeks ago, Leicester were third. Based off recent results, maybe Leicester's luck is running out. We'll see how they get on this weekend. Let's go to my banker. I've gone with Birmingham City to win at home to Portsmouth on Saturday afternoon. Yeah, one of the teams we were just talking about a second ago who are your very unreliable favourites. And yeah, Chris Davis needs a win. They got just their second win in 8 away at Preston in midweek last week. Wasn't the most convincing, but it was a positive result. However, they followed it up with a loss at Bristol City where literally neither goalkeeper made a save. It was a bit of a ball fest. If we're taking positives from those two games from a Birmingham perspective, though, they have been a lot more solid defensively. They were shipping a fair few goals prior to those last two games, but bringing Phil Neumann back into the team has definitely made them look a lot more solid, even though he was left for dead by Sinclair Armstrong last weekend. The main problems going forwards, turning possession into chances. And if Chris Davis is going to turn things around for Blues, then that's what he's going to have to figure out. Their home record's been very good, though. Their loss against Hull a couple of weeks ago was the first time they lost at St Andrews in the league in 18 months. And they should fancy their chances of getting a valuable win against a Portsmouth side who are struggling. And their struggles have definitely gone under the radar. Just one win in 8. Only Sheffield Wednesday have scored fewer than them this season, which is a big surprise considering the attacking talent they've got. So they should find it difficult to break down a much more sturdier Birmingham side. Having said that, Josh Murphy may make his first start in over a month in this one, which is a big boost. However, Portsmouth have won just 4 of their last 28 league games away from home since being back in the Championship at the start of last season, and could find themselves as low as 21st on Saturday evening with a loss here. So not going well, it's fair to say. Have you been surprised by how poorly they've been doing, old Pompey, Justin?
Yeah, I think so, because we really, really hyped them up in pre-season, especially the attack. I was really impressed with their recruitment, but Colby Bishop's got 1. Connor Chaplin's yet to score. Josh Murphy's been injured. It's just not functioning in that final third, because defensively they are okay. They don't concede a lot of high-quality chances. It's just at the other end of the pitch, things drastically need to improve. There are a lot of underperforming individuals. That's been a big issue. So John Messina's got to work his way around it. But also, their results at Fratton Park haven't been as good as they were last season. Bear in mind, they did have a slow start last season. We do have to bear that in mind. But we know their away form's poor, and going to a Birmingham side who have lost 1 in 18 months at home is going to be a difficult one, and it's only going to put the pressure on them. But I am surprised, because out of most of the teams in the Championship, I was really impressed with the attack that they put together, and that attack has not delivered.
Yeah, well, they have been missing Josh Murphy, I should reiterate, through injury, and that's been a big miss. The strange thing is, their form has really dropped off ever since the South Coast derby, really, where we were heading into it thinking Portsmouth could do a job on Southampton. And they did perform pretty well in that game. But since then, the form's dropped off, including a loss to Sheffield Wednesday along the way. So, yeah, it's been a bit surprising seeing Pompey struggle. And if things don't turn around soon, then maybe they could be in a relegation battle this season, which I definitely didn't have on my cards, especially after what you mentioned there with the transfer business they did over the summer. Justin, we'll have a quick break. After that, we'll make our outsider predictions for the weekend. Welcome back to the Second Tier podcast. It's our outsider time, ladies and gents. And Justin, just a few minutes ago, said that he thought his outsider may upset a certain fan base in the Championship. So I look forward to seeing who you've gone for here, Peachy, my boy.
I've gone with Bristol City to win away at Stoke on Saturday afternoon. Now, of course, I'm alluding to Stoke fans who are going to suggest there's an agenda, but there isn't. The outsider picks were just very, very difficult. And I would have gone for Stoke as a banker, but Bristol City as an outsider, actually probably one of the nicer ones going into this weekend, other than Ryan's, of course, which I'm very irritated about. But as I say, they were hard to come by. Stoke have been in great form, but despite their great form, there may be one of the sides who are overperforming. I say that with caution because I know that will frustrate a few, but when you look at their numbers, they've only created a higher XG in 5 of their games than their opposition so far this season, which it's not bad, but it's just okay. Is that a team befitting a promotion candidate? I don't think so. And they're coming up against a Bristol City side who I really, really do like. I really, really like them under Gerhard Struber. Gerhard Struber's really impressed me. And they've got the potential to really overwhelm you. So I think with their qualities, I think they've got more match winners as well, which is an important thing, like Scott Twine, Anis Mehmeti, Sinclair Armstrong's obviously hitting a little bit of form, which is a nice little asset because his pace is such a big thing for a Struber side. And then you've got the disruption of Emil Rees in that final third as well. Ross McCauley's really impressed me so far this season too. So I do think they've got a few more match winners than Stoke, who I think are probably becoming a little bit over-reliant on Sorba Thomas delivering something from a set piece, which is not where you want to be. So I think if Stoke are going to win this, they really do need to improve because Bristol City, I think, could be the real deal this season. Yeah, well, it's 4th v 5th, isn't it? Two teams I didn't expect to be doing as well as they have so far, but certainly enjoying themselves, each of them. I suppose an interesting question is, which of these teams do you think is the more likely to maintain their start as the season progresses? But based off everything you were just saying there, I'm guessing it's very much Bristol City who you'd be siding with on that particular question. No, I'll say Stoke just to throw the rule book in there. Everyone. Yeah, just to confuse everyone, just to contradict myself massively. No, I do think it's Bristol City. I think they've got a little bit more in their attack. But they've got players to come back as well. We've got to bear in mind that Max Bird's been injured. Adam Randall picked up not too long ago. Jason Knight's been injured. So they're a little bit threadbare. So there are players to come back into this side, and that's only going to improve them. And again, if they do sort out a clinical striker in January somehow, if they spend a little bit of money, then this side could be really, really frightening. I think Stoke are in year one of a new project under Mark Robins, another new project under a new manager, but this one feels a little bit more solid because Mark Robins is actually getting points on the board where other managers have failed to do so. So that's not to say Stoke are a bad side this season. I just think Bristol City are ahead of them. Yeah, well, you mentioned strikers potentially firing for them. Could that be Sinclair Armstrong after he got his first goal in 11 months last weekend? But yeah, I would agree with you. I would definitely say Bristol City are the more likely out of these two early starters to continue their form. I think that's more down to Stoke's faults, if anything, to echo the points you were making just a second ago. I'm not sure they've played anywhere near as well as their results suggest this season. I'm just looking at that fabled expected points table again, Justin, which actually has Stoke 15th in the table, Bristol City 8th, for those that are wondering. I imagine a big part of why Stoke are quite low in that table is because of their defensive record, currently the best in the division in terms of actual goals against, but that definitely doesn't marry up with the underlying data and what that's saying, because they're overperforming their XG against more than any other team in the division. And despite a couple of wins last week,
I wasn't exactly blown away with them in either of those games. So, yeah, I would expect a drop-off of sorts from Stoke, maybe starting this weekend, Justin, if your outsider prediction is correct.
Nice.
And Sinclair Armstrong is firing again.
Well, that would be nice. Sinclair Armstrong, he really is a good feel-good story of the Championship because of where he's come from. But if he could fire them to a 1-0 win and I get points on the board, buzzing, Ryan, buzzing, but not at the expense of Stoke fans, I want to reiterate.
Yes, it's because you're so happy for old Sinks, aren't you, finding another goal. 2-2, let's see if it can happen. Let's go to my outsider for this weekend. I've gone with Hull City to win away at Norwich City on Saturday lunchtime. Look, let's get straight to the point here. If you have the chance to pick a team as an outsider against a Norwich side who have lost 5 on the bounce and lost all 6 games at home this season in all competitions, you're going to bloody take it because Norwich have been dire and appear to only be getting worse. Their last couple of games, they've been beaten by Derby and Swansea, 2 sides not in great form, and neither had to do a lot to win either of those games. Norwich are woefully out of form, and unless you've just not been listening to us over the past few weeks, you will know that the pressure is well and truly on Liam Manning to turn this around, because it's been toxic at the last couple of games at Carrow Road, and you can fully expect that to be the case again if everything starts going wrong again right here. And I think it will, because Norwich are coming up against a Hull side in great form. It's 11 points from a possible 15 for them. They're the second highest scorers in the division, also the second most goals conceded. Very much the great entertainers in the Championship this season. However, the good thing is for them in this game, they're coming up against a Norwich side who are so bad going forwards right now. Just 2 goals in their last 5 games. So even if Hull continue to be as devil may care as they have been previously, will Norwich punish them? I wouldn't count on it. However, having said that, one blow for Hull is that Liam Miller is going to be out for the next month with a hamstring injury. He only made his first start last week after a year out with an ACL injury, which is a real cruel blow, isn't it, to someone who's not had much luck over the past year?
Yeah, it's really disappointing because, well, like you said, his look's not been there, but he came back and had an immediate impact for Hull. Got an assist in his return, scored as well in his first start. It was really good to see. But I think if you're coming back from a long-term injury, muscle injuries are always going to be a risk. And unfortunately, Miller's fallen foul of that. But hopefully he comes back a little bit stronger. But Hull were creating and scoring goals before Miller came back. So at least there's some confidence to take from that point.
Yeah, absolutely right. Just on Liam Miller, he has spoken previously about struggling mentally with his ACL injury, which is something we don't often consider as supporters. You had Semi Ajayi, who said the squad is doing what they can to support him, so hopefully it is nothing more than a month that he's out for. But look, Norwich, we all know they're one of the big stories in the Championship right now with everything going horribly wrong there. The owner, Mark Atanasio, has flown over to the UK this week for talks with Liam Manning and sporting director Ben Napper. He also appeared on BBC Radio Norfolk to answer calls from Norwich fans and has given his full backing to Liam Manning despite the recent form. He said, "There's no plan to sack Liam. We hired Liam due to his record as an English football coach. He and Ben Napper are really hard workers. They have high integrity. And Liam left a really good job at Bristol City to come here." Atanasio was also asked about the sale of Marcelino Nunez, which he described as a PR own goal. However, he wasn't a fan of, in his words, sticking his nose in. So, interesting. What do you make of that, Justin?
Lot to dissect. I think firstly, credit to him going on a radio show, because it's very rare you get owners in an actual studio speaking very openly. And he did that. So I think you've got to take that as something as a positive. That being said, Ben Napper and Liam Manning having high integrity doesn't necessarily mean you've got a functioning football club. You're losing games and your transfer business has been terrible. You can have as much integrity as you want, but you need success, and there's not any success at the moment. And you've spent a lot of money, and there's a lot of bad things going on. It needs to be sorted. So, yeah, I still don't have any. I don't come away and going, "Oh, I'm really confident." Yeah, the form's going to turn around now, Ryan. Yeah, got it in the bag. No, sadly, I don't think the owner's going to change that.
When it goes back to what we were saying a few days ago, it just feels like there's a lack of urgency around Norwich at what is a bit of a dumpster fire right now. Everyone's just like, okay, this isn't great, but I'm sure everything will be fine. And while I'm not calling for anyone to be sacked, because I don't like anyone getting sacked, but it does feel like people are just letting this happen without doing much to actually address it. So, yeah, a bit alarming. And I'm not sure that would have, made Norwich fans a bit calmer about the chaos that's going on at their club.
What does the panic button look like for Norwich, Ryan? Is the panic button Delia Smith going
Delia back onto the pitch saying, "Where are you?"
Yeah, but directing it at Liam Manning, get her in the dressing room, and like the Gareth Ainsworth hacker with the Delia Smith cry of call to arms, if you like.
Literally going around every player and just shouting in their face, "Where are you?"
That's what we need.
It can't get much worse, so you might as well give it a go, might you? So yeah, I'd be all for that. We'll see whether they do press that panic button anytime soon, but it doesn't look like anyone has really thought about it, to be honest. Right, those have been our predictions for the weekend, and now it's time for this.
All right. Settle down, you lot. It's time for the Craig Bryson pub quiz.
It bloody is, Mr. Barman. It's the Craig Bryson pub quiz, and this is how it works. I'm going to give Justin 6 clues about a championship player, past or present, each more revealing than the last. And he simply has to guess who it is. They must have made over 200 championship appearances in their career. And don't forget, the Dexter Blackstock rule is in play. Justin, would you like the first clue?
I always do. Lay it on me.
It'd be a very difficult game if you didn't. Your first clue is this. I've made 237 appearances at championship level, scoring 46 goals.
That's a strike ratio of a number 9 who was so-so. So I'm going to go with David Healy.
Good to hear him mentioned. It's not David Healy, though. What a legend he was. This is your next clue, Justin, your second clue. I made my competitive debut for Luton Town against Welling United in the FA Trophy in 2010.
Oh.
Ooh.
That's...
Remember that team well?
I remember it Welling. Oh, what a joker. See that when you said Luton, I was like, oh, okay, mid-2000s, got this. I'm going to get this. Then you said 2010, I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Andre Gray.
Oh, he was maybe there around that time. He definitely played for them in non-league, but it's not Andre Gray. Always good to hear him mentioned, though. Your next clue is this, Justin. This is your third clue. I've scored in all 4 of the top divisions of English football. One of my very first competitive goals was in the Premier League in 2014. I had to wait 10 years for my second Premier League goal. What are you thinking there? What are you thinking there?
I don't really know, because that sounds more like... Well, it doesn't sound more like Andre Gray, actually, but... I'm thinking he started out at Luton, and then he's signed straight for a Premier League. Fucking hell, I don't know.
Yeah,
there's a big gap.
Bit of a head scratcher, that, isn't it?
That's a cheeky one. No one's springing to my mind right now. Give me another clue.
All right then. This is your 4th clue. 2 remaining after this one. I've played for 6 clubs in the Championship. Nearly half of my appearances at this level were for Barnsley.
High turnover of players. Fucking Barnsley.
What are you thinking? Come on.
It's difficult because all I'm thinking about is the Hungarians that Barnsley signed in the late 2000s, and they're just completely irrelevant, like Daniel Bogdanovic.
Were they playing for Luton Town in 2010?
No, and they definitely weren't playing in 2024 either. I'm thinking it could be a winger. It has to be a
2024
winger.
Because you've clearly done the maths and worked out that his second Premier League goal was scored last calendar year, which is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Passed me by. I was covering the Premier League as a job as well. It was really annoying.
Yeah. Next clue.
Yeah.
Interesting. This is your fifth clue, Justin. I was last seen in the Championship playing for Blackburn Rovers last season, and I'm now at Wycombe Wanderers.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Oh dear. This doesn't seem to be going as well as I thought it might, considering this is Justin Peach, who I don't think has got a Craig Bryson incorrect since we brought this feature back at the start of last season. Was the start of last season, wasn't it? Was it the season before?
Yeah, but I don't think I've ever got
season.
one wrong, to be honest with you.
Well, you would have done when we initially had the feature, but since we brought it back, you've definitely not got one wrong. So this is interesting, ladies and gents. We could be witnessing history right here because he doesn't look very sure.
No, I'm not. Barnsley, a lot of games at Barnsley. He must be in his 30s. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Final
Okay.
clue.
Final clue, ladies and gents. And I'm not sure you're going to get it after this because this is a proper tester for you, Justin. Your final clue is this. I'm a winner of the second tier goal of the season.
Such a shit clue. 37 goal.
I mean, that narrows it down to 6 players, unless someone did it more than once, which as far as I'm aware, they didn't do.
Yeah, I don't really care for the goal of the season award because I have my own opinion.
We both would have picked it.
Oh, the second tier one. Shit, yeah. Sorry. I don't remember.
This doesn't look like it's going
feel the
anywhere,
dead
ladies
air
and
for a
gents.
second.
Wow.
Yeah,
this is big.
Half of his appearances for Barnsley.
Yeah, I thought that would get it, to be honest.
Scored a Premier League goal in 2014, then 2024.
Yeah.
But he was at Blackburn last season.
Yeah. Wow. Unless Justin Peach pulls something out of his arse right now. Do you want a bonus clue, which is kind of a follow-on from the last clue? The second tier goal of the season was in 2019-20, our first season covering the Championship.
That was COVID. I don't remember anything.
Are you giving up?
I remember nothing. I'm giving up.
Wow.
It's giving me a tummy ache.
Ladies and gents, this is absolutely huge. History has been made because Justin Peach has got a Craig Bryson incorrect for the first time since the start of last season. The player you were looking for, Justin Peach, he scored in the Premier League with Luton Town in 2024, scored his first Premier League goal with Fulham in 2014. It was Corley Rudrow. And now, ladies and gents, for those who are listening to the audio edition of the podcast, Justin Peach is absolutely fuming.
Dexter Blackstock rule.
Oh, I knew this would happen when this eventually came up. Corley Woodrow is more relevant than Dexter Blackstock. Come on.
He's not. No, he's not. I'm not having that. He spent most of his time injured for Luton.
Oh, give over. That is you. You've just got to take this on the chin, I'm afraid, mate, because that you've just got to accept that you just didn't get it, I'm afraid.
I'm gonna check the Discord after this goes out because they'll let me know if this qualifies or not. Likewise on the Patreon as well. I'm calling it. I'm furious.
Wow,
absolutely no more. Fucking Corley Woodrow.
I think he's more furious with himself rather than the Dexter Blackstock rule because the Discorders can decide, but I'm pretty sure they will say he's more relevant than Dexter Blackstock. Do you remember the second tier goal of the season, by the way?
Did he spin and shoot his volley?
Yes. It was against Charlton, I believe. He flicked it up on the edge of the box and buried it into the top corner. It's such an underrated goal. I urge anyone listening to go watch it because it is an absolute stunner.
Yeah, and that's all he's got on his CV, to be honest, because he's completely irrelevant.
Hey, scored in the Premier League this last calendar year, mate.
Good for him. Yeah, great. Not in the Championship, though, is it?
Oh dear, Justin Peach. Those sour grapes are really getting to you, aren't they? There we go, ladies and gents. This has been the Craig Bryson Pub Quiz. Wow. What a historic moment, ladies and gents. Corley Woodrow, this week's answer, and the first one Justin Peach hasn't got since we brought this feature back. But this has been the second tier preview show. We'll see if Justin's still sour on Sunday when we review all the weekend's action. In fact, no, we'll have to find out tonight, won't we? Because we're doing our live stream straight off the back of Wrexham v Coventry tonight on the second tier YouTube channel. So make sure you join us then for that. But otherwise, this has been the second tier podcast. I have been Ryan Dilks.
But Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening.